Annyeong! So hello everyone. So again, welcome to our discussion of the property, plant, and equipment. And for today, we are about to discuss depreciation. Okay, so this is your instructor, Noel Bergonia. And let's start the discussion of depreciation. Okay, let us first define what depreciation is. So technically, pag sinabi po natin depreciation, it is an accounting process of allocating the asset costs, okay, of that property, plant, and equipment to expense. Okay, so yung cost kasi natin in our discussion of the cost of property, plant, and equipment are charged as an asset. Okay, and then you need through the process of depreciation to allocate it and to transfer it as an expense in a systematic and rational manner, okay, over the periods on which we are expecting, okay, the benefit from the use of this particular asset. So ikakalat po natin yung asset cost natin over the asset's life. Okay, and why is there a need for us to depreciate? It's because of the fact that we are using that asset, o kaya naman there is already a physical wear and tear for that property, plant, and equipment, as well as passage of time. Okay, those are some of the bases why we need not to depreciate a property, plant, and equipment. Okay, so what are the important elements that we need in order for us to allocate, okay, this cost of the property, plant, and equipment over the useful life? Take note guys, hindi kasama yung land dito kasi land is subject to appreciation as we have discussed in our discussion, okay? But only those depreciable assets, no, yung equipment, machineries, okay, building and other depreciable assets that we have already discussed will be subjected to this depreciation since sila lang naman po yung ginagamit natin at the same time nagkakaroon ng physical wear and tear and passage of time on which there is somehow a decrease on its value. Okay, pag ginagamit. Yung land kasi, wala siyang ganyan characteristic. Okay, so what are the important elements that we need to consider, okay, in depreciating our asset, okay, the decrease in the value of our asset? So first of which is known as the depreciable costs or the depreciable base of the asset. Okay, so this depreciable costs is eventually comprised of two functions, which are the costs, okay, yung asset cost natin, di ba? It is somehow based on the mode of acquisition, whether through cash, issuance of shares, um, via donation, o kaya naman self-constructions and others that we have discussed in our discussion about the initial recognition of property, plant, and equipment. Okay, so that's the first element under the depreciable costs, no? The costs of the property, plant, and equipment. And also the salvage value, scrap, residual, or disposal value. Okay, so pag sinabi po natin depreciable costs, okay, that is simply be our costs of the asset less our salvage value, scrap value, residual, or disposal value. Take note, guys, that in the problems that you will encounter, of course, this disposal, salvage, or scrap value will be given to you. However, no, if you haven't seen any of them, then malamang baka wala po tayo or zero yung ating salvage value or disposal value. Okay, so you need to check the details in the problems that you are going to answer. Okay, but in the reality, no, in the actual world, this salvage value are based on somehow estimation of the entities. Okay, somehow dun sa experience cost um, property accountant or fixed asset accountant. Okay, so some of the assets will have zero salvage value na. Okay, and even others will have a minimum amount that is set by the company in their company policy. Okay, so that's the first set of elements that we need, no? The depreciable costs or base of the asset. Another would be the useful life or the service life of that asset. Okay, so this refers to the amount of use or of time, okay, or it's somehow um, the amount of use the company expects to obtain the asset before disposing it. So this useful life or service life can be expressed in unit of time. So meaning it could be year, it could be months, okay, or even later, no? This useful life or service life could also entail units of activity, okay, that this property, plant, and equipment will undergo. okay, within its life. Okay, so useful life, no? But typically in your basic accounting and other um, FAR subject, 'di ba? So usually units of time yung ginagamit, but again in this case now we will also be discussing some sort of useful life based on the units of activity. Okay? And another and the last would be the depreciation method. Okay, so it is important for us to determine the depreciation method to be used, okay, which will be discussed later in the succeeding slides, okay, so that we could be able to allocate the costs or the depreciable cost of the asset, okay, proportional to its benefits generated. Okay, so yun yung pag-aaralan natin ngayon dito sa discussion on depreciation. What are the methods to be used in order for us to allocate properly the depreciable cost of the asset or the cost of the asset, okay, over its useful life. Okay, so yan po yung mga importanteng elements na titignan natin as we um, compute for the depreciation, which is later charged to expense, okay, over a period of time. Okay, so the next question that we need to answer is, when are we going to depreciate? So kailan po tayo mag-start na mag-depreciate? So in accordance with IES number 16, okay, the depreciation of our asset will begin, take note, when it is available. Okay, when it is available for use, okay, when it is in the location or condition that is necessary for it to be capable of operating in the intended manner by the management. Okay, so technically pag sinabi nating available for use, let's say for example, no, you have purchased the property, plant and equipment, and it is already there on the place where you're going to use it, pero hindi mo pa ginagamit. Okay? But at that case, no, it is already available for use. So that's the time we're in. Basta nandun na siya sa place, ready na siya for use, then you need to start the depreciation already. Not necessarily that you will start the depreciation kapag ginamit mo lang. Okay? Kasi kanina, di ba, in the basic premise why we depreciate, no, even though it's not yet used, no, there, as if there would be passage of time, then malamang sa malamang the depreciation should begin already in that case. Okay? Are we clear on that? So we will start the depreciation once it is already available for use. Okay? The next question is, kailan naman po mag-stop or magsisis yung ating depreciation? So in accordance again with IAS number 16, so your depreciation for the property, plant, and equipment will cease, no, or will end, okay, at the earlier of kapag yung ating particular property, plant, and equipment is classified already as held for sale in accordance with IFRS number 5. So to give you a preview about the held for sale under IFRS number 5, so the management is already intending this particular property, plant, and equipment to be disposed, no, within the next 12 months. Okay, and it is evident already that there is a high probability of sale. Okay, so in that case, pag classify kasi, no, hindi na siya PPE. Okay, it will be classified under another asset account which is held for sale, and held for sale assets are typically considered as current asset na po, no? Kasi they are expected to be disposed within the next 12 months, okay? So in that case, of course, pag na-transfer na siya as held for sale, stop depreciation na po tayo doon. Okay? So kasi in IFRS number 5, no, assets classified under those um items under IFRS number 5 should stop depreciation or depreciating. Okay, so ayun, that's the first one, no, the earlier of when we classified it as held for sale, or okay, the date that it is derecognized. Okay, so pag sinabi po nating derecognition, it's either sale nung particular PPE kung ibebenta mo siya, or even i-dispose mo na siya, either itatapon mo na kasi baka hindi na rin siya magamit, or even 'di ba, pag binenta mo rin siya sa junk shop, that's already disposal. So those are the items under the recognition. So we will be discussing the recognition separately, okay? But again, with regards to the end of our depreciation, it will be the earlier pag classified na siya as held for sale, or it was being disposed or derecognized. Okay? Take note lang po that the depreciation will not cease, okay, or will not stop when the asset becomes idle or it is retired from active use unless the asset is fully depreciated. So ibig sabihin halimbawa no kapag um let's say for example you are using the time based later na depreciation method, okay, and then biglang nagkaroon ng idle time na hindi ginamit yung property plant and equipment. Let's say in this case no that we have pandemic no, sabihin natin na around 9 months no hindi nagamit yung property plant and equipment. Okay. So in that case, no, the depreciation will not cease. Okay. It will still be depreciating kasi there would be a passage of time. Okay. But take note lang guys that if ever that you will be going to use later yung usage methods, okay, wherein we expect that the depreciation will be based on the units of production, okay, then under IAS number 16, paragraph number 55, okay, if we use the usage method of depreciation and the asset is idle and there is no production, then the depreciation charge will be zero. Okay, pero doon sa time-based na depreciation methods, of course, there would be depreciation pa rin even though the asset is being idle. Okay, so are we clear on that? So these are the premises. When do we begin? When do we stop the depreciation? So please take note of this. Okay, so if you have questions, please key in your questions on our respective chat boxes or even comment your questions on our um, YouTube video. Okay, so are we still good, guys? All right, so very good. Sumasagot ka. Okay, so let me just show you again the journal entry for depreciation na alam ko naman po that you know already since you have this in your basic accounting subjects. Okay, so the entry would be debit depreciation expense, okay, and credit accumulated depreciation. So the depreciation expense, of course, is proportioning, sabi natin kanina, the asset to expense, okay, because there would be a passage of time or even there is already a usage of that asset. Okay, so that's the allocated amount of the cost, okay, to the expense during the current year. Okay, and the accumulated depreciation account naman is a contra, no, asset account. So which is representing the cumulative, no, amount of depreciation over the life of the asset kung hanggang kailan na po yung anong date na yung depreciation, okay, or anong date na yung usage ng asset. Okay, so that's the accumulated amount of depreciation expense over the prior years of that particular asset. Okay? So, contra account po yan. So, as you all know naman, na kapag nagpe-present kasi in your basic accounting, of course, your carrying value, di ba? Carrying value or the book value, 'di ba? 'Yun yung tawag ninyo sa basic accounting, carrying value, book value or net book value, okay, is actually presented at the end of the reporting period as your asset costs, okay, less your accumulated depreciation. All right? So ayan, this is just the journal entry kasi mamaya no, what we will be focusing on na lang po would be the computation of this depreciation expense, okay, in a period. Okay, are we clear on that? All right, so very good. So now let me introduce to you the depreciation methods that we will be discussing, okay, and which will be give an example mamaya, no, before we end this discussion. Okay, so it is classified under two. We have the time-based, okay, and in the time-based, of course, as mentioned to you a while ago, it is based on the passage of time of the particular property, plant, and equipment, okay, and it could have the straight line method, okay, the sum of the years, the double declining balance method, and also the 150% declining balance method. Okay, so these are just some of the time-based depreciation methods, okay, that we will be discussing later. While when we talk about naman activity-based depreciation method, so ito po yung kanina na-mention ko rin po that if passage of time is not the pattern of our depreciation, then we could use the activity based on the units of output or even naka-base tayo doon sa machine hours or equipment hours, okay, devoted in our production. Okay? So ito po yung mga methods that we are about to discuss on the succeeding slides. Okay, so let's start with the first time-based depreciation method, which is our straight line method. So straight line method is basically one of the famous depreciation method that you have used already since you have the depreciation in your basic accounting, okay, on which in this method, okay, an equal amount of the depreciable costs or the depreciable base, okay, is allocated over each of the years. So dahil straight line po yan, equal amount po yung ating depreciation each period, di po ba? Okay, and the depreciable base in this case would be divided, okay, over the number of years that the asset has on its useful life, okay, to determine the annual depreciation. So as you all know, the formula for the straight line depreciation expense, okay, would be the asset costs less the residual value, or this is simply be our depreciable cost, di ba? Itong numerator na to would be your depreciable costs, okay, all over its useful life. Take note, guys, that your useful life in most of the problems are year, no, or annually. Okay, if you are asked of the annually, wala tayong problema. Okay, but if you are asked on lower than 1 year, let's say for example monthly, quarterly, then you need to divide yung makukuha yung annual depreciation over those circumstances. So kapag monthly, then the annual depreciation will be divided by 2, divided by 12 rather. Okay? For the quarterly naman, divided by 4. Okay? So are we clear on that? Isa lang po na kailangan niya rin tandaan, di ba? Whenever you have to compute for depreciation in the annual year would be kailan ba naging available or kailan nabili yung particular property, plant, and equipment. Kasi di ba, kung January 1 yon, malamang sa malamang, tapos December 31 yung tatanungin sa inyo, 1 year, di ba? Pero kapag, of course, if it is lower than 1 year, let's say for the first year, it could be, let's say for example, um, July, no? July 7 pala yun. July 1, nyo binili and available yung asset, then December 31 yung tinatanong, then it should be 6 months already. So my point there is, please make sure that you look into the date where the asset was being acquired. And also the question, what year is that depreciation expense, no? Yung tinatanong. Okay? So by the way, mamaya we will be focusing on that pag nagbigay na ako ng examples sa inyo. But this is now the straight line method where we allocate the assets depreciable costs over the useful life, and under straight line method, equal depreciation on each period. Okay? So that's for the first method under the time-based depreciation method. Okay, so again, if you have questions, please let me know on our chat box. Okay, so the next method that let me introduce to you will be the sum of the years digit method, or the SYD method. Okay, so under this method, the depreciation pattern is achieved by multiplying the depreciable base by um, the declining fraction. Okay, so meron tayong fraction mamaya which is consists of the SYD, or the sum of the years. Okay, so because of that, unlike with the straight line method, okay, our depreciation charge will be in decreasing fraction of the depreciable costs. Okay, so unlike with the straight line na equal per year, pag SYD, pababa ng pababa yung depreciation every period, no? Hindi na siya yung equal basis. Okay? So each of the fraction, no, uses the sum of the years as our denominator. So mamaya I will be introducing to you the computation of the SYD. Okay? And the numerator is eventually the number of years of the estimated life remaining as of the beginning of the year. Okay? So unahin muna natin yung denominator, no? Kasi in the denominator, we need to compute for the SYD. So your SYD could be computed as n times n plus 1 all over 2. Okay? Where n represents the useful life of our asset. Okay? So, bigyan ko kayo ng example. Halimbawa, 4 years, no? 4 years. So, kung 4 years po yan, okay, using the formula, so that would be 4 times 4 plus 1, okay, all over 2. So, of course, in mathematics, di ba, una muna natin kukomputin yung inside factor, which is 4 plus 1, so that's 5. So, 5 times 4, okay, that's 20. Okay, and 20 divided by 2, okay, then our SYD will be 10. Okay? So kung gusto niyo ng formula, then that would be the formula. Pero kung gusto niyo naman na mas challenge, na gusto niyo lang magbilang, okay? The SYD will just simply be adding all the years na nagko-comprise sa 4 years. So parang ganito 'yan, 1 plus 2 plus 3, okay? Plus 4, 'di ba? Yan yung nadaanan ng 4 years na period. So pag inad mo yan, 1 plus 2 di 3. 3 plus 3, di 6, then plus 4, then that will also be 10. Okay? So it could be formula based na itong n times n plus 1 over 2, or you just simply add the number of years. So yun po yung magiging denominator natin later. Okay? And the numerator, okay, pakita ko lang po no as theory. So in the first year, for that 4-year period, okay, dahil in the first year, at the beginning of it, meron pa naman tayong 4 years na natitira. So 4 over 10 yung depreciation fraction natin for the first year. Then second year, it would be 3 over 10 na lang kasi tapos na po yung 1 year. Then for the third year, then we have 2 over 10, and for the fourth year, then we have 1 over 10. So ganyan po yung ating depreciation fraction na gagamitin as multiplier in determining the depreciation charge. Okay? So are we clear on that? Again, if you have questions, please let me know. Okay? We will further discuss that later pag nagbigay na tayo ng example. Okay? So that's for our sum of the years digit method. Okay? So the next under the time-based depreciation method would be the double declining balance method. Okay? So in this particular method, okay, the depreciation rate is expressed as percentage. Okay? So iba naman to, no? Kanina in the SYD, a fraction, no? But also it could be a fraction here in the double declining, but most of the time it would be expressed in percentage. Okay? So unlike the other methods, this method, take note of this, no? Does not deduct the salvage value in computing the depreciation base. Kanina kasi in the straight line at saka sa SYD, our depreciable base would be the cost less cost less salvage value, hindi po ba? Pero dito sa double declining balance method, okay, we will not deduct the salvage value. Okay, so that's the usual um, characteristic of the double declining, no, ignoring the salvage value in the computation of our depreciation. Okay? The declining balance rate na i-compute natin maya-maya ng konti, no, is to be multiplied with the book value of the asset at the beginning of each period. So, unlike kanina that again depreciable base will be allocated over the life of the asset, under double declining, no, ang ating computation ng depreciation expense would be its book value, okay, at the beginning of each period. So for the first year, of course, yung book value na yun will be represented by the costs. Pero sa mga susunod na mga accounting period, let's say nakapag-depreciate na ng after 1 year, the book value as mentioned to you a while ago will be the cost already less the accumulated depression. No, it's accumulated depreciation. Okay? So ayan, mamaya sa example din natin mapapakita natin 'yan, no, how it works, no, para ma-compute yung book value. Okay? Pero ayun nga po sa double declining depreciation rate, which is the declining balance rate natin, okay, multiplied by the book value of the asset at the beginning of the period. Okay? And this process will continue until the book value of the asset will equal to its estimated salvage value. So ayun, no, sa dulo ng depreciation time, okay, so whenever that we have already estimated um, the amount, no, na may salvage value pa rin, no, kung given sa problem, okay, that you need to meet the book value, okay, is equal to the salvage value, okay, on which the depreciation will now discontinue. So pag na-achieve na natin na depreciate tayo, okay, then na-meet na natin yung book value, nag-equal na sa salvage value, then we will stop already the depreciation. Okay, under the double declining balance method. And actually, dun naman sa unang dalawa kanina, sa straight line and sa sum of the years, talagang sa dulo nung depreciation year natin or useful life natin, okay, the salvage value will be the remaining value na lang. Okay? So now, how do we compute for the rate, no, na imumultiplied natin to the book value or to the cost of the asset? Okay, the rate would be computed as the numerator of 2, no, which represents the double, okay, all over n, which is your number of years. So halimbawa, no, kagaya kanina, 4 years, so ibig sabihin 2 over 4, then we have, okay, pwedeng 1 half or it would be 50%. Okay? So every period, no, we have 50%, okay, na depreciation, but they are not be equal because our basis for the 50% depreciation is the book value. Okay? And alam nyo naman yon that time goes by, the book value of the asset also decreases. Thus, the depreciation will also decrease. Okay, so mamaya in our example, you will know or even see now the example on how we treat the double declining balance method depreciation expense, okay, in our computation. Okay, basta yan muna yung rate that we will be using for the computation. Okay, and lastly, for the time-based, okay, we have naman 150% declining balance method, which is kapatid nito double declining, okay? Si double 2, ito 1.5 or 150%. Okay, so again, this method uses not double but 150% lang po in computing the rate. Okay, and just like the double declining balance method, okay, this method also do not deduct the salvage value in computing the depreciation based. Okay, so to show paano po makuha yung 150% declining balance rate natin, so that would be yung numerator kanina sa double declining is 2. Ngayon, pag 150%, then that would be 1.5. Okay, all over n, which is your number of years. Okay? Sir, paano yan kung um, hindi sinabi sa problem kung ano pong declining balance method, okay? So usually kasi sasabihin naman or dapat sabihin 'yun, no, kasi 'yun yung pinaka-method natin, okay? But also in some cases baka mapansin ninyo may mga percentage na ibibigay, is that double declining? Okay, pwedeng ganito kasi siya, no. Pag straight line pwede rin siya mag compute ng rate, no? Pag straight line ha, straight line. Okay, so halimbawa 4 years, pag straight line parang ganito lang 'yan. Yung numerator is 1. Okay? So pag 1 all over n yung computation, this will seem to be used for straight line method. Kasi 'di ba pag straight line equal per period, so every period 25% in our example, okay, yung kalalabasan. So wag kayong magulat guys ha, sinasabi ko lang to kasi baka magulat kayo, sabihin sa problem straight line method tapos may bigay sa inyong percentage, baka ang gamitin niyo is double declining, no? Hindi po 'yon, no? Gamitin niyo pa rin straight line but it just being transformed into percentage kasi allowed din yun sa straight line. Okay? So kagaya nito nga, 1 over n, which is 4 years yung example natin. Okay? So, any question guys? Okay, so mamaya ulit, no, as we discuss the examples, doon natin maintindihan palalo itong 150% declining balance method. Okay? So we are done already with the time-based depreciation method. Okay, ngayon naman pumunta tayo sa activity-based depreciation method. Okay? So let's start with the units of output method or units of production method. Okay, we're in. Okay, we compute for the depreciation, okay, based on um, the measure of output natin, which is the estimated number of units, okay, that we produce. It's either nakakilo man siya or ilang items o kaya naman barrels, okay, or the units na ginagamit natin for the measuring the production or even our output that would be used, no, in our depreciation here. Okay? So eventually this method first will compute for the average depreciation rate per unit. So yun yung gagawin natin mamaya, no? Computein mo kung magkano yung average depreciation rate per unit, okay, by dividing the depreciable base. So again, the depreciable base or depreciable cost is considering yung cost less salvage value pa rin guys ha. Tandaan ninyo yung ating declining balance methods lang, 150 or 200, yung hindi gumagamit ng salvage value in the computation of the depreciation. Okay, but in the other methods, no, we are using the salvage value to be deducted from the cost to arrive at our depreciable base. Okay? So ayun nga po, no, in determining the average depreciation rate na gagamitin natin, okay? So you will be dividing the depreciable base or depreciable costs by the number of units expected to be produced. So saan po natin makukuha, sir, yung number of units expected to be produced? Okay, in the actual world, okay, it will be estimated initially, no? Halimbawa, yung machine kabibili mo pa lang, okay? So one responsible person who is reliable in estimating, okay, would determine, okay, so itong machine na to, no, malamang it would produce, okay, let's say for example, 100,000 units. So that's already the number of expected units, no, wherein we divide um, the depreciable base with the expected number of units natin. Okay? So that is usually used in ano in manufacturing palagi, no? Kasi nga po they would like to base the depreciation on the units that they have produced. Okay? So this unit rate na na-compute natin, okay, will be multiplied on the actual number of units produced on each period to arrive at our depreciation expense. Okay? So again, under the units of output method, as a summary, okay, your depreciation expense for the period would be equal to the actual, no, number of units produced, okay, then you just simply multiplied it with the depreciation rate per unit na na-compute natin using the depreciable base over the expected number of units. All right, so that's under the units of output method, which will be discussed later again on our example. Okay, and lastly, for the um, activity-based depreciation method, we have naman po based on the machine hours. So kanina, nakabase tayo sa number of units dun sa units of output. Ngayon naman po, based on the machine hours that we have devoted, no, for this particular um, asset. Okay? So, under this method, our depreciation rate per unit, okay, will be computed by again dividing the depreciable base or the depreciable cost. So that means again, under this method, we are using the salvage value or disposal value, okay, to be deducted from the costs to arrive at our depreciable costs. Okay? You divide it by the number of expected total machine hours. So, parang ganun ulit, no? Kanina, we will be estimating initially ilan po yung expected number of machine hours that this particular machine or equipment will be used in the production. Okay, then pag na-compute na po natin yung rate, the depreciation expense now will be based on the actual number of machine hours multiplied by the unit rate natin. Okay, to arrive at our depreciation expense. Okay? So are we clear on that, guys? So those are just the theoretical discussion of our depreciation, and I hope na naintindihan niyo siya based on the theories, okay, which will be applied on the succeeding slides for our examples. So again, if you do have questions, please let me know lang po by chatting your questions on our respective chat boxes, or even ask your question here in the comment section of this video. Okay, so I hope that you're still alive, no? Kung kayo po ay napapagod na sa kakapakinig sa akin, just pause for a while, no? Take a coffee break or water break, and then you continue. Okay? So are we clear on that? Ayan, Aja. Okay, so let's give now examples, no? Para at least maintindihan natin how this depreciation method works. Okay, so let's have our first set of example. Okay, so let me read the problem. Okay, so we have 81 company purchase of fabricating equipment, okay, on January 1, 2020, okay, at a net cost of 230,000. So January 1, 2020, let's assume that this equipment had arrived already in that particular place of 81 company, okay? So that's already the start of the depreciation, di ba? Okay, and then the cost of it is 230,000, okay? At the end of its 4-year useful life. So take note, guys, the useful life is 4 years. Okay? So 4 years po yung useful life niya. Okay? And the company had estimated that the machine will be worth 30,000. So the 30,000 now will act as our salvage value or disposal value at the end of the 4-year useful life. So nandiyan na yung elements natin, di ba? The costs, the salvage, okay, the number of years or the useful life natin. Okay, to continue, Itaewon also estimates that the machine will run for 25,000 hours during the 4-year life. So that's 25,000 hours was actually the estimated number of machine hours that this machine or equipment, okay, will be used. Okay, so take note guys na um, this particular equipment, okay, is mamaya depending upon the method na gagamitin, okay, pwede natin gamitin yung hours na yan. Of course, that could only be used for the machine hours, di ba? So during the 4 years and actual machine hours for that equipment was 2020, no, 6,000, 2021, 8,000, 2022, 5,000, and then 2023, 6,000. So moreover, the company estimates that it can produce 500 um, units, no? So this will be used later for the units of output method. Okay, and the actual units produced are as follows. So for 2020, 150,000, 2021, 140,000, 2022, 120,000, and 2023 would be 90,000. And the calendar of the company ends on December 31. Okay? So those are our data, okay, for this particular problem. And it asks us to compute for the depreciation expense, okay, accumulated depreciation and the book value for the year 2020 up to 2023 using the methods that we have discussed a while ago in theory. Okay? So, unahin natin si straight line method. Okay, so under the straight line method, we need to compute first for the depreciation per year. Actually, naka-year naman to, di ba? Yearly depreciation kasi the calendar year ends on December 31. Okay, and it starts on January 1. Yun yung maganda dito sa problem na to, no? It starts on January 1 and it ends on December 31, which means that the depreciation for the year, no, on the date of acquisition will be 1 year. Okay? So for the straight line method, of course, our depreciation expense annually will be computed based on our asset cost, which is 230,000, less the salvage value of 30,000, then all over the useful life of 4 years, thus giving us the depreciation expense every year na 50,000. Okay, so every year 50,000 the depreciation expense, credit accumulated depreciation. Okay, so next question was about the accumulated depreciation. So in the first year, of course, on December 31, 2020, since this is just the first year, the accumulated depreciation is 50,000. Okay? Second year, of course, 100 na kasi dalawang 50 na yung nadumaan. Okay? Third year or 2022 would be 150,000 and 2023 would be 200,000. And again, in determining the book value or net book value or the carrying value of the property, plant, and equipment, then that would be costs less accumulated depreciation. Kaya, okay, your cost of 230 for the first year less the accumulated of 50,000, then the remaining value is 180,000. For the second year, 2021, so the cost is 230 minus the accumulated depreciation of 100, then the remaining value is 130,000. For 2022, 230,000 pa rin po yung costs, less the accumulated, which is 150,000, so that's 80,000 na lang remaining value. And lastly, for 2023, okay, so the last year, so accumulated depreciation is already 200,000. Deduct it from the 230,000 cost, then the remaining value will be 30,000, which is actually equal doon sa ating salvage value. Okay? So are we clear on that? Any questions? So that's the simplest depreciation method that we have. Okay? So that's for the straight line method. Now let's proceed with the sum of the years. So as mentioned to you a while ago, in the sum of the years digit method, okay, we first compute for the sum of the years, which is your 4 years, di ba? 4-year useful life yung given. Okay, that's n times n plus 1 over 2 kanina, di ba? So 4 times 4 plus 1 Okay, so the numerator is actually 20 pag kinalculator niyan all over 2, which gives us the SYD of 10 years, no? Or sorry, 10. So that 10 will be, as mentioned to you a while ago, will be your denominator, 'di ba? In computing the depreciation expense per year, and the numerator would be the remaining number of years, no, expected at the beginning of each period. Okay, so in determining the depreciation expense, okay, for the first year 2020, take note guys that under the sum of the years, no, we are still deducting the salvage value, okay, to compute for the depreciable base po natin. Okay, so for the first depreciation expense for 2020, so your 200,000, okay, na um, depreciable base, okay, multiplied by 4. So 4 kasi at the beginning of the year 2020, 'di ba? 4 years pa naman yung natitirang useful life, no? All over 10, okay, which is our SYD. So that will be equal to 80,000. So you can check that guys, no? For over 10 times 200, that's 80,000. Okay, so that's your depreciation expense for the first year. Okay, and since first year pa lang, then your accumulated depreciation will be 80,000 na. Okay, 80,000 lang. Okay, and to arrive at the book value for 2020, of course, your cost is important, the 230,000 less the accumulated of 80,000. So your book value for 2020 would be 150,000. So as you can see guys, no, magkaiba yung book value ng straight line at saka SYD kasi nga po the depreciation way how we compute for it in the sum of the years digit method is different already. Okay? Sa straight line, 50,000 ang first year. Samantalang sa sum of the years, 80,000 na. Okay? So in the second year, still 200,000 pa rin po yung basis natin, the depreciable base, times 3 over 10 na lang kasi tapos na po yung first year, di ba? Thus, the depreciation expense for 2021 is 60,000. Okay? And then your accumulated is 80,000 from the previous year plus the 60,000 in 2021. So we have 140,000. And your book value na lang po will be 90,000. Okay? Then for our year ended December 31, 2022, so yung 200,000 ulit na depreciable base times 2 over 10 kasi tapos na po yung 2 years. So we have the depreciation expense in 2022 worth 40,000. Okay? And your accumulated depreciation from 140,000 in 2021 plus the 40,000 depreciation expense in 2022, then our accumulated depreciation will be 180,000. Okay? Giving us the book value na lang po na 50,000. And finally, on the last year, which is December 31, 2023, so your 200,000 na depreciable base times 1 over 10 kasi tapos na po yung 3 years, 1 year na lang po yung natitira, which is that 2023. Okay, over 10, so that would be 20,000 na lang yung depreciation expense in 2023. Okay, and it gave us the total accumulated depreciation as of 2023 na 200,000, and as you have noticed, no, the book value is already 30,000, which is equal then doon sa ating salvage value, okay, at the end of the useful life. Okay, so that's how it works for the sum of the years digit method. Okay, so if you have questions, again, please let me know on our chat box. Okay, napansin ninyo, no, pababa yung depreciation expense natin under SYD on which the straight line are equal. Okay, yun yung sa theory kanina na decreasing yung value na depreciation natin under SYD and the other methods except for the straight line. Okay, so we're done with the first two set, no? Let's proceed with the next slide. Okay. So same data pa rin naman po yan. Okay, so we will be using the double declining naman. So kanina na-mention natin that the first step in the double declining is to compute for the double declining balance rate. Okay, so we're in. Okay, our depreciation rate will be based on 2 over 4. The 4 will be the years, di ba? That's why our depreciation rate would be 50%. Okay? 50% po yung ating um, declining balance rate. Okay, and as mentioned to you a while ago, our basis for the computation of double declining depreciation expense is based on the book value at the beginning of the period multiplied by the rate. Okay, so pakita natin. So in the year ended December 31, 2020, okay, your depreciation expense will be based on una muna sa costs, no? Again, under double declining balance method, we ignore the salvage value. Kaya yung basis natin dito is the 230,000 na costs, then multiply the um, rate natin na 50%, which give us the depreciation expense of 115,000. Medyo mas malaki siya over the 2 kanina na straight line and some of the years na depreciation, tama ba? Okay, that's how it works for the double declining. Okay? So, the accumulated depreciation would be 115,000. And 230 minus 115,000, then the book value will be 115,000 po. Okay? So, in 2021, the depreciation there will be based na po doon sa book value, di ba? Last year, we have a remaining book value of 115,000. And for 2021, the depreciation expenses based on that book value na 115,000, then just simply multiplied it with 50%, okay, which is equal to 57,500 already. Okay, so that's 172,500 na yung accumulated depreciation coming from the 115 last year plus the 57,500 in 2021. So which gave you the book value of 57,500. Okay? So in 2022, ito po, no? Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina that the salvage value should be equal at the end of the that particular period, no? In 2022, as you have noticed, pag hinati natin, let's say itong 57,500 na to times 50%, if you try to multiply it, no? Ang kalalabasan po is supposed to be magkano? 57,500, okay, times 50%. So magkano yung supposed to be na depreciation expense for that year? 57,500 times 50%. So that should be an amount of 28,750. Tama po ba? Okay. So supposed to be, kung ganyan yung gagawin natin, the depreciation expense will be 28,750 and the remaining book value is already magkano? 28,750 na lang. No? But remember, as mentioned to you a while ago, that at the end of the period dapat, no, not necessarily at the end of the useful life, under the double declining balance method, okay, it should be equal doon sa salvage value. So in that case, what will happen po is during 2022, i-adjust na po natin yung depreciation. Kasi ang natitira na lang po para maging book value is 30,000, in that case, is a depreciation expense of 27,500. Saan nanggaling yon? Yung 200,000, which is our depreciable base, kung i-deduct mo yung salvage value. Again, guys, we are just using it for the backtrack computation, ha, but not necessarily in the depreciation expense initially na diniscuss kanina na ibinawas. Tandaan ninyo, dito sa first year, walang binawas sa 30,000 and even in the second year. Ngayon lang ho, para ma-derive kasi natin yung 30,000 na book value which is equal to the salvage value natin, okay? So yung 200,000 minus yung nakaraan na accumulated. Okay? So you have only 27,500. So compare it with the 28,750 kanina. Pag pinush mo kasi na 28,750 yan, again, ang lalabas dito sa book value na to is 28,750 rin, which is lower than the salvage value na. Na kanina sa theory, it should be equal. Tama po ba? So kaya ganun yung ginawa, in-adjust na lang natin yung depreciation expense for 2022, okay, naging 27,500, para accumulated will be 200,000. And ang matitira na lang sa book value in the end of 2022 would be 30,000. Okay? So are we clear on that? So ganyan, medyo mag-a-adjust tayo ng konti sa double declining. Okay? Kung enough pa naman yung book value, then wala tayong problema sana. Eh kaso, hindi na po, no? Bababa na sa 30,000 in 2022 pa lang pag pinush natin yung original na depreciation rate. Okay, kaya nga po, in 2023, as you can notice, wala nang depreciation since na-fulfill na po natin yung allocation, okay, in 2022 pa lang. So wala na pong depreciation there, so but the value of the asset, okay, will still be the same. Okay? So are we clear on that? Okay, so that's how double declining balance method works. Okay, so similar to that, now we have also the 150% declining balance method. So ito medyo mas drastic lang kasi or mabagal yung pagbaba ng kanyang value. Okay? Pero again, we will be using in the numerator 150 or 1.5. Okay? Then over 4 years, thus our 150% declining balance rate lang po is 37.5. Okay. So makikita nyo dito ngayon yung pinagkaiba niya sa double declining. Unlike sa double declining na third year pa lang tapos na yung depreciation. Okay, let's see yung sa 150%. So again, our starting point for the depreciation in the first year would be the asset cost na 230,000. Then just simply multiply um, the declining balance rate of 150%, no, which is 37.5. Okay, so we will arrive on the depreciation expense for the first year, which is 86,000. Okay, 250. You can check that on your calculator, guys. The 230,000 times 37.5. So that's 86,250. Okay, and then for the accumulated depreciation for the first year, of course, that's 86,250. Okay, the book value now after deducting the cost with the accumulated. Okay, so the book value is 143,750. So which on the second year, yun na po yung gagamitin natin as base for the depreciation expense. Okay, multiplied again with the 37.5. Okay, the depreciation expense would be 53,906. Okay, and accumulated nyo is 140,156, which came from the accumulated last year plus the depreciation in 2021. Okay, and your book value is already in 2021 89,944 na lang. Okay, ito yung tignan ninyo ha, difference niya dun sa declining balance method kanina. Okay, so on December 31, 2022, the book value for 2021 na 89,844 times the 37.5%. Okay, the depreciation expense only for 2022 is 33,692. Okay, and your accumulated depreciation is 173,848, and the book value for the end of 2022 is 56,152. Okay, so as you can see guys, dito sa third year ng 150% declining balance method, hindi pa naman siya bumaba doon sa 30,000 na ano natin kanina basis. So okay lang i-continue siya sa 2023. Unlike with the double declining, 'di ba? Na-mention ko kanina na in 2022 pa lang na-achieve na natin yung value na 30,000 kaya mag-stop depreciation na in 2023. Okay? But in the 150%, as you can see, no, i-adjust na lang natin yung depreciation expense based on the remaining depreciation expense to arrive on the accumulated depreciation na 200,000 at para magka-book value tayo na 30,000, which is equal to the estimated useful life. Estimated salvage value rather. Okay, so yung book value in 2022 na 56,152 less mo yung supposed to be matitirang 30,000 na salvage value or the book value. Okay, then your depreciation expense na lang po for 2023 is 26,152. Okay? So are we clear on that? All right. So I hope na naintindihan nyo po yung way how we use the double declining and 150% declining balance method. And again, if you do have questions, please let me know on our chat box or even comment on this video. Okay? So last two na lang, no, units of output and machine hours. So on the same problem, first units of output method. So remember, under this method, you compute first the depreciation rate per unit. Okay, and that depreciation rate per unit will be multiplied to the number of actual units being produced. So for the depreciation expense per unit, so it is computed based on the asset cost per ren less salvage value or your depreciable base na 200,000 all over the expected number of units. As mentioned kanina sa problem, we have estimated number of units na 500,000. Okay, so over 500,000, so 200,000 divided by 500,000, so that would be equal to 0.40. Okay, or 0.40, which is the depreciation expense per unit. Okay, so medyo mas madali na lang po siya, no? The actual units na binanggit dito sa problem na 150 for 2020, 140 for 2021, 120 for 2022, and 90,000 for 2023. Okay, multiplied with the depreciation expense per unit. So ito po yung kinalabasan. For 2020, your depreciation expense is 60,000. Okay? Then 2021 is 56, 2022 48,000, and 2023 is 36,000. Then of course, the accumulated, the first year is 60. Okay, kaya yung book value is 170. Okay, in second year, okay, accumulated nun will based on 2020 60,000 plus the depreciation expense in 2021 na 156, kaya 116,000 na lang po. Okay? 60,000 plus 56, so 116,000. Then the book value na lang po is 114. Okay? Then for 2022, okay, yung accumulated is 164,000 na, which gave you the book value of 66. And finally, for 2023, of course, your depreciation expense is 36. Okay? And your accumulated will be 200 and the book value now will be 30,000. Okay, so that's how it works for the units of output method. Medyo mas madali siya ng konti, di ba? Okay, kasi variable lang siya based on the number of actual units being produced. Okay, and finally, we have based on the machine hours. Okay, so same din, compute first for the depreciation expense per machine hours. So that would be the 200,000 as the depreciable base as numerator all over the expected or estimated number of hours. Kanina, we have 25,000 in the problem. So 200,000 divided by 25. So we have 8 pesos. So the depreciation expense per hour would be 8 pesos. So yung binigay na mga hours na 6,000 for the first year, 8,000 for second year, 5,000 for the third year, and 6,000 for the last year will be our basis, no? Kaya yung depreciation expense for the first year is 48,000 lang, which came from the 6,000 na machine hours for first year times 8 pesos. In the second year, 8,000 hours times 8 pesos. So that's 64,000 depreciation expense. For 2022, 5,000 hours times 8 pesos per hour. So that's 40,000. Okay. And for the last year, 6,000 hours times 8 pesos, that would be 48,000. Okay. So yung mga accumulated natin, again, your previous accumulated plus the current depreciation expense. So for 2020, 104, for 2020, 48,000 lang po yung accumulated, okay, which gave us the book value of 182,000. For the second year, okay, mula sa accumulated ng first year plus depreciation expense ng 2021, so the total accumulated is 112,000. And your book value will be 118,000. Okay? For 2022 naman, okay, yung accumulated depreciation ng 2021 plus the depreciation expense in 2022. So it gave us the accumulated depreciation of 152,000, and then your book value will be 78,000. And finally, for 2023, so your accumulated depreciation will be 200,000 and your book value would be 30,000. Okay? So ganyan po yung paggamit ng various depreciation methods as we have discussed a while ago in the theory. Okay, so that's for our first example. It started the depreciation on January 1, 2020 at the time that the PPE is available, okay, and ends on December 31. Okay, so again, if you do have questions, please let me know. Okay? So last set of example, no, I just want to show you lang po paano kung yung PPE natin, okay, I will be transitioning on the next slide. Paano po kung yung PPE natin, okay, is not purchased or is not available on January 1, so there would be no definite 1 year na for the first year period natin. Okay, so it will be lower than 1 year. Paano kaya yung magiging depreciation computation natin? So same data guys, no, except for the fact na in the first year, it was purchased on April 1, 2020. Okay, using again the various methods. Okay, and to compute for the depreciation expense, accumulated depreciation, and the book value from 2020 up to 2024. Okay. So let's start with the straight line method. Okay, so similar to what we have a while ago in example number one, your depreciation expense will be based for the straight line method on the assets depreciable cost na 200,000 in the numerator all over the 4 years period pa rin. No? Kaya every year it would be 50,000. Okay, but in the first year, which is on 2020, as mentioned to you a while ago, it started only on April up to December 31. So what will happen? You need to prorate it. Now, from April to December, it would be 9 months. Kaya mapapansin po ninyo sa depreciation expense, your 50,000 na depreciation expense annually, multiplied it with 9 over 12 to arrive for the depreciation expense only for the first year na 9 months na 37,500. Okay? So your book value now would be 192,500. Okay? So as you can see naman in 2021, 22, and 23, okay? So the depreciation expense will be 50,000 na rin po kasi nga whole year naman na yung depreciation yan. Okay? So sundan niyo na lang po yung sa accumulated na 37,500 in 2020 plus 50 in 2021 kaya 87,500 at the end of 2021, then plus 50 ulit in 2022 para maging 137,500, then plus 50 ulit in 2023 kaya 187,500. Okay? And your book value, just simply deduct it from the costs, no, yung ating accumulated depreciation. Okay? And for 2024, as you have noticed, kulang kasi no for the first year ng 3 months, kaya extended yung period niya, umabot siya ng March 31, 2024, which is the remaining 3 months. Okay? Kaya yung 3 months, which is equivalent to 12,500, is extended up to 2024. Okay? So that's why we have the book value at the end of March 31, 2024, which is the end of the useful life of the asset, no? Na 30,000. Okay? So kaya guys ha, importante na pakitignan pong maigi kung ano pong month of the year, okay? At saka anong year yung tinatanong, okay? Once you have the questions about depreciation expense. Okay? Kasi nagmamatter po yung lalo na sa first year nung PPE, no? Lalo na kung kagaya nito na binili siya na not exactly January 1. Okay? So are we clear on that? All right, so that's for the straight line again. Next would be for the sum of the years. Ayan, ito medyo may um, malaking pagbabago siya in the computation because again, for the sum of the years, compute first for the SYD and that the SYD for the 4-year period would be 10 counts. Tama ba? So 10, no? So eventually, in the depreciation, if we purchase it not exactly for January 1, but April 1 here in this example number 2, okay, ang mangyari po, okay, tignan natin. For the first year, December 31, 2020, okay, so your depreciation expense will be based pa rin po sa depreciable cost, which is 200,000. Okay, multiplied mo yung 4 over 10, which is yung 4 first, tama ba? Sa unang taon niya kasi, 4 years pa naman yung remaining, then that would be our numerator all over the SYD na 10. Ngayon, may makikita ka na times 9 over 12. Bakit 9 over 12? Kasi again, for the first year in 2020, from April 1 up to December 31, it only have a 9 months period na usage for 2020. Kaya you just simply multiplied 9 over 12. Kaya ang depreciation expense for 2020 is 60,000. Okay? 60,000, which gave you the accumulated na 60,000 and book value na 170,000. Okay? So ito na po ngayon yung pagbabago in 2021. Akala natin 3 over 10 na po lahat. Hindi. Ang gagawin po natin, uubusin muna natin yung from 2020 or the first year. Kasi 'di ba 9 over 12 lang 'yon. Meron pa siyang 3 over 12. So in 2021, as you can see the computation, the first set of computation would be 200,000 times 4 over 10 times 3 over 12 kasi yun po yung natitira mula doon sa first year, no? Kaya 20,000. 3 over 12 ba? Bakit 3 over 12? That's 12 minus yung 9 doon sa first year. Okay? So kaya 3 over 12. Okay, so 20,000. But do not forget na pang 3 months din yun. Okay, in the remaining 9 months ulit, so ganun yung mangyari, 200,000 times 3 over 10. Bakit 3 over 10? Kasi pang start na ng second year yun, di ba? So 3 over 10 times 9 over 12 din. Kasi parang na-cover na itong 3 over 12 na to, parang na-cover niya yung January up to March. Ito naman, from April to December. Parang ganun yung coveraging niyan. Okay? So that's why for the second computation, we have the depreciation expense of 45,000. And if we add that, the depreciation expense for 2021 will be 65,000. All right, so very good, no? So, ganun lang ulit, accumulated is yung 60 nung nakaraan plus 65 nitong 2021. So, that's 125. Then, the book value is 105,000. Okay? Ganun din yung gagawin natin for the succeeding years. So, as you can see, for 2022, dahil hindi pa tapos yung 3 over 10, tapusin mo muna. So, 200,000 times 3 over 10 times 3 over 12. So, 15,000. Okay? And then the second set, which is 200,000 times 2 over 10 kasi tapos na yung 2 years, no? So 2 over 10 na lang times 9 over 12 lang din. Okay? So that's equal to 30,000, which have a total of 45,000. Okay? So your accumulated is 170. Okay, nanggaling sa accumulated last year na 125 plus 45 this year, and your book value is equal to 60,000. Okay? In 2023, okay, as you have noticed, hindi pa po tapos yung 2 over 10. Kaya in the first set of computation, so we have 200,000 times 2 over 10 times 3 over 12. So we have the depreciation of 10,000. And then for the second computation, so 200,000 times 1 over 10 kasi patapos na po tayo, last year na po ito, okay, times 9 over 12 lang din. So that's 15,000, which gave us a total depreciation for 2023 na 25,000. Okay? So ang accumulated ng 2023 is 197 and the book value is 35 na lang. And lastly, extended period kasi siya up to March 31, 2024. So yung natitira nung 1 over 10 na 3 over 12, okay, that would be 5,000 will be charged in 2024. Okay, and the accumulated is 200, then the book value will be 30,000. Okay, so ganun yung mangyayari ha. Ganito ko siya pinipresent sa inyo because this is for me the easiest way. Sa ibang libro kasi sinisimplified nila yung terms, no? Ginagawa nilang um, whole numbers yung iba, no? Pero ako hindi ko na ginagawa. I'm just simply putting here fractions para maintindihan nyo kung saan nanggaling yung 9 over 12, 3 over 12, and the likes. Okay? So I hope na naintindihan nyo po. Kaya again, importanteng tignan ninyo maigi kung ano po yung purchase date ng PPE ninyo or the date when the PPE is available. Okay? So, again, if you have questions, please let me know. Konting tiyaga na lang guys, patapos na po tayo. Okay, so the next would be for the declining balance method naman. Okay, so for the double declining, okay, again, we have the 50% rate. So similar lang po dun sa kanina yung gagawin natin. But in the first year period, okay, as you can see in 2020, okay, in the double declining, i-remind ko lang po kayo, hindi po natin gagamitin ang salvage value for computing the depreciation expense. Kaya we started with the cost na 230,000 times the rate of 50%. Okay, and since in the first year, it was bought on April 1, kaya 9 over 12 lang po. So that's 86,250 yung i-charge natin for the first year. Okay, so arriving at the accumulated of 86,250 and the book value of 143,750. In the second year, ito po yung nangyayari pag double declining. In the second year, kung ano na lang po yung book value nun, first year, which is 143,750, you simply multiplied it with the rate and wala ka nang ibang imumultiplied. So yun na po agad ulit yung depreciation expense. So for 2021, the depreciation expense is 71,875, okay, which gave us a total accumulated in 2021 158,125 and a book value of 71,875. All right, and then for 2022, okay, so yung book value ulit ng 2021 na 71,875 times the declining balance rate na 50%. Okay, the depreciation expense is 35,938. Okay, kaya yung accumulated po natin ay 194 63 and the book value is 35,937. Okay. Here comes now yung kagaya sa ginawa natin kanina na since malapit na po yung 30,000 which is our threshold for the remaining book value, ang gagawin na lang natin is yung book value ng previous year minus the 30,000 na base natin. So malamang sa malamang ang depreciation natin for the year 2023 is 5,937 na lang ho, no? So hindi na natin gagawin yung times 50% kasi malamang babagsak talaga yan, na lower sa 30,000 na salvage value yung book value pag ginawa po natin yun. Okay? So the depreciation expense for 2023 would be 5,937 na lang po to arrive at an accumulated depreciation of 200,000 and the book value of 30,000. Okay? And to show you for 2024, no depreciation na kasi naikarga na lahat in the first 4 years, no? Okay, or actually 3.75 years. Okay? So during the last months nitong PPE, wala na pong charge depreciation. Okay? So that the book value will be equal to 30,000. Okay? So are we clear on that? All right. So very good. So that's for our double declining. Now, for the 150%, same pa rin po, 37.5% pa rin, which came from the 1.5 over 4 years. Okay. So similar to the double declining kanina, in the first year, as you can see, you have 230,000 times the 37.5%. Okay, times 9 over 12. So that's equal to a depreciation expense for 2020 amounting to 64,688. Okay. Your accumulated depreciation is 64,688 then, and the book value is 165,313. Okay, which will be used for 2021 times 37.5. Kaya depreciation expense is 61,992. Accumulated naman is 126,680. Okay. Then the book value remaining in 2021 is 103,320. Okay. In 2022, the depreciation expense will be again the book value in 2021 na 103,320 times the 30%, 37.5% na declining balance rate. So the depreciation expense would be 38,745, okay, which gave us the book value na po na 64,575. Okay? In 2023, yung 64,575 ng 2022 times the declining balance rate na 37.5%. So your depreciation expense would be 24,216. Okay, and your accumulated will be 189,641. Okay, and your book value remaining for 2023 is 40,359. As you can see, hindi pa naman po siya nag-fall under um, 30,000 kaya still in 2024, unlike with the double declining, no, na walang depreciation in 2024, for the 150% declining balance method, we have the remaining depreciation to be charged as 150,359. Okay, so that we could arrive on the accumulated of 200 and the book value of 30,000. Okay. So I hope na naintindihan niyo po yung discussion. And again, if you do have questions, please let me know lang po. Okay, so we are now down to our last set of methods, no, which are the units of output and machine hours. Okay, Ako, lumabas na agad yung machine hours. Anyways, for the units of output method, we need first again to determine magkano po yung depreciation per unit. So that's again the asset cost less depreciable, asset cost less salvage value. So that's 200,000 all over the number of expected units na 500,000. Okay, na point 4. Okay, so point 4 per unit. So given in the problem, no, that in the first year you have 110,000 lang times point 4, so 44,000 po yung depreciation expense. Second year, 56,000 yung depreciation expense kasi 140,000 po yung units produced times 40% or point 0.4 na depreciation expense per unit. So that's 56,000. For 2022, 120,000 units, okay, times the zero point 0.4 na per unit depreciation. So we have 48,000. And 2023, you have 90,000 times zero point 0.4, that would be equal to 36,000. As you can notice guys, kung susundan ninyo yung accumulated less the cost, in 2023, you have still remaining na book value na 46,000. And sa problem kasi hindi na binanggit kung ilang units yung 2024 na na-produce. So whenever you have still number of units being produced in 2024, you just simply multiplied it with the depreciation expense per unit para makuha mo yung depreciation expense in 2024. But in this case kasi hindi ko na nailagay yung 2024 data kaya hindi na ibig sabihin nun na wala ha. Meron po na natanggal ko lang or hindi ko lang naibigay. Okay, but there would be depreciation for 2024. Okay? And finally, for the machine hours, okay, so determine the depreciation expense per hour. So that's your assets depreciable cost na 200,000 ulit all over the number of expected hours, 25,000. So that's 8 pesos per hour. Okay, then multiplied it with the number of hours actual use. So 5,000 for the first year times 8, kaya 40,000. Okay, in 2021, 8,000 hours times 8 pesos. So that's total of depreciation expense na 64,000. Then for 2022, 5,000 times 8 pesos. Okay, that would be 40,000 depreciation expense. And 2023, 6,000 times 8, that's 48,000. Okay, as you can see again, the book value on 2023 is 38,000. So pwede rin ho na nagkaroon pa ng usage in 2024 and that's okay. Hindi ko lang po ulit na ilagay yung detail dito. Okay? So ayan. So that's our depreciation and how we compute the accumulated and book value at the end of each period. Okay? So I hope po na may naintindihan kayo in our discussion. Okay, so again, if you do have questions, please let me know on our respective chat boxes or even comment on this video. Okay, so with that, again, thank you very much for listening and have a great day, everyone. Kamsahamnida and sayonara. Okay, bye-bye.